So actually bending disc brake rotor is actually quite common these days. Various ways to do it, things like crashes, easily done, clip a stump, hit a tree, anything like that. If you pack your car wrong, take your wheels out, wedge it in, a rogue pedal just sits against it for the entire journey, and when you plug your wheels back in, your disc's warped. So we're going to be looking today at how to straighten it from a slight bend. Obviously, if it's bent over at 90 degrees from a massive crash, then you know that's game over. You'll need a new disc rotor for that. But if it will still make it through the caliper and you can just tweak it to get it back a little bit, that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at right now. This is the actual tool for the job for straightening a disc brake rotor. Two grooves in here. One is for the outer rotor itself, whereas this one will sit over the rotor arm as well for larger adjustments. Alternatively, if you don't have the specialist disc brake rotor tool, you can actually use an adjustable spanner, as long as it does have a flat clamping surface on the jaws. Simply slot it over, clamp it up tight and bend away. First thing to do is just try and gauge exactly where the bend is in the rotor. The easiest way to do that is using your caliper as reference. So we'll just spin it through the caliper and see where it is actually binding. Then, in order to be able to do this properly, you can either look from above if you have access to that, or if your pads aren't full of crap like these are, or the easiest way is actually to look from behind and see exactly where it sits. Once we've identified the portion of the rotor that's actually been affected by the bend, we're going to rotate it back out of the way of the caliper so we can start to get to work on bending it back into shape. This particular case, I know it's roughly just around this sort of area here, and what I'm going to look to do is bend it out towards me because it's rubbing on that far side of the pad. Because our disc rotor here is actually really quite bent and is struggling to get through the caliper so much, what I've opted to do is use the larger of the two slots, and that is going to sit right over the rotor. This way we'll get a bit more leverage and we can correct this larger bend. So just continue to keep tweaking the rotor, keep an eye on its placement as it runs through the caliper. This is just a trial and error process. It can take quite a while if it's quite a big bend in there, but just keep plugging away. It's never going to be good as new. It won't ever really be 100%. The only way to do that is to replace the rotor. But as long as it will pass through the caliper without rubbing and you can get back on the trails, you're good to go.